Hello everyone, this is Vishal Kumar and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we are talking on a very interesting topic, the policy. So today we are talking about Startup India Seed Fund Scheme, which is also known as SISFS. So basically this scheme is for those who are building something. If you are a startup or generally if you are early stage startup, then this video is for you. So basically you and I have any idea and you want to develop that idea into further level, you need a funding. To initially no one is there to give you funding. Even if you will go for investor, they will ask market traction, they'll ask paying customers, they'll ask revenues. But initially we don't have that. There and we don't have ability to take the loan from the banks because they will also ask the collaterals, and initially we don't have that even, and that's where government came into picture. So they have launched this scheme to develop early stage startups, to help early stage startup. If you have early stage startup just completed POC and validated into the real environment, and you need funding to develop that product into further level, then this scheme is for you. So what is this scheme? What is the eligibility criteria for this scheme particularly? How to get the funded through this scheme? So we discuss everything about Startup India Seed Fund in this video. This is very important. To build the product, you need money. To get the money, you need the product. And this death of valley minimized by taken by the government initiatives like Startup India Seed Fund. So Startup India Seed Fund fully for those who are working on niche technology, who are working on very basic technology, and they want to grow further level and they need funding. So that's why the Startup India Seed Fund come into picture. If we talk about the Indian context, over the last decade, India is one of the fastest growing economy in the world. Thousands of startups emerge in technology sectors like fintech, education, agriculture, manufacturing, automotive, and whatnot. To support their growth, Government of India launched Startup India Seed Fund scheme in 2016. As I mentioned in the video, as I mentioned initially, investors are willing to invest money into those startups. Those are doing great in terms of revenue, in terms of customer acquisition, in terms of having good scalability for what those just started their initial journeys. For those, government came into picture. So basically, investors don't want to put money into startups who are early stage. Eventually, they want returns. And initial startups, the time is very long to get into marketization and get the revenues and the paying customers. And the problem is exactly there. Government tap the same problem and come with new policy. Initial stage, there are many higher chances to startup get shut down due to lack of funding, due to lack of mentorship. And government recognize the same gap, and that's why they come up with the funding only for early stage startups, and Startup India Seed Fund one of them. So let's talk about what is the Startup India Seed Fund exactly. So let's consider an example. The Startup India Seed Fund is only for the earliest startup. They are very early stage. They have just completed POC, that is proof of concept, and they are right now in the validating the technology in the real environment. To conduct market research, to validating it, how the government utilize that fund. So basically, government has given this fund to the selected incubators across the country. Through incubators, this fund is distributed, and this fund is given to potential startups in that particular region. So basically, what startup get through Startup India Seed Fund is they get a funding. Second, they get mentorship. Mentorship is also one of the key aspects that Startup India Seed Fund offers to the selected startups. The mentorship, dedicated mentorship, is for those to scale up and finalizing the next step, and fund utilization planning will also be there. The motive behind Startup India Seed Fund is very simple. Startup India Seed Fund helps startups to move idea stage to market ready product. So this fund is utilized through various incubators across the countries. Through incubators, potential startups get selected and get funded. This scheme supports activities such as building the prototype, testing the prototype, validating in the real environment, validating the real product, validating the business model, and eventually entering into the market. If I'm summarize this, Startup India Seed Fund helps startup in their very critical phase of their journey. Basically, how does the funding works? Funding works in two aspects. First is idea to prototype development, and second commercialization and marketization. If we are talking to idea to prototype, startup get up to 20 lakh as a grant. So there is no return of this money. So it's a purely grant. So this particular money is used only for developing the prototype, testing the prototype, validating in the market, testing and validating, and proof of concept activities. Second phase is prototype to market. Once startup shows progress and ready for commercialization, it may get support up to 50 lakh. So this particular money helps startup to launch products, expand operation, acquire customers, and eventually scale the business. One thing is very important. The funding is given by the milestone basis. Once the milestone is achieved, the subsequent funding is get released. Okay, that's all about the Startup India Seed Fund. So basically, who can apply for the Startup India Seed Fund? Not for every company. So this scheme is particularly designed for the young startups only, those who are early stage. So let's talk about the eligibility criteria for the Startup India Seed Fund scheme. Startup should be DPI registered startup. Startup should be not older than 2 years from the date of incorporation at the time of application. So it's a very important eligibility criteria is there. So when you are incorporated, the startup should not be older than 2 years. If you are incorporated in 2024, then you should apply before 26. After 26, you won't eligible for the scheme. Startup should have an innovative idea. The technology used has to be there. Have Indian promoter holding majority stake of the company. Generally, it is 51%. So let's talk about how startups get selected in Startup India Seed Fund scheme. So let's understand step by step. First step is to get your startup DPIIT registration. Stage 2, the founders can apply through Startup India Seed Fund portal. It's online process. Offline documentation is not required. You can apply for the Startup India Seed Fund from your home. So any startup can apply for maximum 3 incubation centers. Fourth step is the incubation center will review your application. Fifth step is shortlist the startup invited for the presentation. Sixth step is the incubator seed management committee, we also known as ISMC, evaluate the startup application based on problem being solved, innovation, team strength, market opportunity, and scalability of the solution. And the last step is select a startup, get the funding and the mentorship support from the respective incubators. So select a startup is monitored regularly to ensure the fund utilization being effectively used. So in this overall process, why incubation center plays an important role? Many people and many entrepreneurs think Startup India Seed Fund is only for getting the fund, but it is not at all. Apart from funding, incubation center plays a very important role in terms of not giving the funding, but in terms of mentorship, Incubation center helps startups to find right startup strategy, business strategy. Incubators plays an important role in industry connections, investor connection, and legal and compliance regulatories. For the first time founder, this support is more than just a funding. So particularly this fund opened the door for the aspiring entrepreneurs across the country to get the fund, to develop the business mindset, to get incubate. Today, innovation is no longer in the major cities only. Now the innovation routing through tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, now in tier 4 also. So I want to tell you here, many entrepreneurs comes and they ask what committee looks into the presentation. What does the committee look for in the presentation? So our simple answer of it is the strong application must demonstrate real problem, unique solution, capable team, a clear market demand, and the last, the scalability. For this kind of policies and schemes, what government want to demonstrate? So basically, India wants to become global innovation hub. To achieve this, country needs more problem solvers. Country needs more entrepreneurs. Country needs more innovation. Country needs more technology. Startup India Seed Fund helping to create that foundation. By supporting startup at the very early stage, government investing in future businesses, future jobs, and future innovations. Every successful startup begins with just an idea, and sometimes all that idea needs just an opportunity. The opportunity to demonstrate, the opportunity to scale up, the opportunity to showcase, and that's how the innovation comes into picture. It helps entrepreneur to bridge the gap between idea and successful businesses. If you are a founder, if you are building something using technology and innovation and creating real impact in the societal level, then this scheme is for you. This is your first step to get the fund from the government and eventually the first step in startup journey. One update on it is, recently government also launched Startup India Seed Fund Scheme 2.0. The earlier Startup India Seed Fund Scheme was launched in 2016 with consolidated corpus of 955 crore, which is distributed along the incubators, various incubation centers across the country. And that incubation centers infuses that money into various startups. Some of the startups come with very great idea, come with very business potential, and they have proved that they are becoming the great venture. So if we are talking about Startup India Seed Fund 2.0, the government outlay 10,000 crore only for those early startups. If you are working on early startup, then do apply for the Startup India Seed Fund scheme through various incubation centers. What you need to check is, you need to call that incubation center and you do apply over there. Give the presentation to them. So basically, Startup India Seed Fund, those incubation centers have Startup India Seed Fund scheme. They have their own committee. Your application come through internal committee. Basic sanity check is happen there. After that, your application goes further level, that is ISMC committee. We already discussed the ISMC committee, that is Seed Incubator Management Committee. And this is the final committee, and their decision bound to startups and incubation center as well. In that incubation seed management committee, the external members are also there, industry expert, some of the members from seed secretariat, investors, domain experts, and whatnot. So ISMC committee comprises various domain experts, investors, policymakers, and one of the nominee from the incubation center. As we have discussed, Under the Startup India Seed Fund scheme, two instruments are there. First is grant, which is 20 lakh up to 20 lakh. Second one is the CCD, that is convertible debenture or investment instrument, whether it is a debt link instrument, up to 50 lakh. So once any startup can apply for the Startup India Seed Fund by selecting 3 incubation centers. Incubators are bound to declare the result within 45 days. Just 45 days. So it's a very time bound activity. If you applied 1st June, then the incubation center bound to conduct the technical committee, conduct the incubation seed management committee meeting, internal meeting, and declare the result before 15 June. That is very obvious time, 45 days. This is very good activity to avoid the delay which government usually happens and expedite the process. Here, while selecting the incubation centers, you need to think very carefully while selecting the incubation centers. You have 3 preferences for the incubation centers. Preference number 1, 2 and 3. If you selected 3 incubation centers and first and second incubation centers selected your startup, then there might chances you will get the funding from first incubation centers. If first incubation center rejects you, you might get the funding from the second preference number incubation center. So that's how it's working. And if consecutively 3 incubation centers rejects your application, you can reapply after 42 days. So within that 42 days, you can rework on the areas which was given by the feedback from these incubation centers. So this is very important. So if you are an early stage startup and you want to funding, then Startup India Seed Fund is one of the best possible way to get the funding. However, people always ask for the debt instrument, that is 50 lakh, that is prototype to market stage. So how that convert into equity and how much? So it depends on your company's valuation. For the first time when incubation centers putting money into your venture, then the mutual agreement is happen. The agreement is executed between incubation center and the selected startup. The face value of every share of 10 rupees. A certain period of time, generally maximum 5 years, but generally 3 to 5 years. After 5 years, it depends on how much the tenure that you negotiated with the incubation center. If it is 5 years, after 5 years, that CCD converts into your equity. So the equity dilution is there, but the equity dilution is very minimal. At the time of you get the fund, and after 5 years, the valuation of your company obviously increases, and that decreases equity dilution in your company. So that's all about Startup India Seed Fund scheme. We'll talk more deep in upcoming videos. We'll also get other scheme related discussion